Look around. In this single room, invisible rivers of information flow through the air. Emails traverse continents. Video calls bridge oceans. Documents download. Messages send. All of it passing through your body, through the walls, through everything. And you feel nothing. You see nothing. You hear nothing. But it's there. Always there. The invisible infrastructure of modern existence. We call it Wi-Fi. And we take it so completely for granted that we only notice it when it's gone. Connection lost. Those two words might be the most anxiety-inducing phrase in the modern lexicon. Because in less than 3 decades, wireless internet has become as essential to human civilization as electricity or running water. To understand Wi-Fi, you must first understand the prison that preceded it. In 1995, the internet existed. Email existed. The World Wide Web existed. But connection required a leash, a physical tether, a cable that chained you to a single location. If you wanted to use the internet in your bedroom, you ran a cable. If you wanted to connect a second computer, you ran another cable. Offices looked like electronic spiderwebs, with hundreds of cables running through walls, under floors, across ceilings. Companies spent billions on cabling infrastructure. And the moment you finished installation, it was already obsolete. Because technology evolved faster than buildings could be rewired. Around the world, engineers recognized the problem. The solution was obvious. Cut the cable. Make data fly through the air. What wasn't obvious was how. Our story begins not with computers, but with stars. Not with engineers, but with astronomers. Actually, our story begins even earlier, with a Hollywood actress and an avant-garde composer in 1942. Hedy Lamarr was one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood. A screen goddess who starred opposite Clark Gable and Spencer Tracy. But she was also something Hollywood didn't expect. She was an inventor. A brilliant, self-taught engineer who spent her evenings not at parties, but at her drafting table, sketching mechanical designs. In 1942, with World War II raging, Lamarr became obsessed with a problem. Radio-controlled torpedoes kept getting jammed by enemy signals. The torpedoes would veer off course or detonate prematurely. Her solution was ingenious. Instead of transmitting on a single frequency, what if the signal constantly jumped between frequencies, like a piano playing a melody across all 88 keys in a pattern only the sender and receiver knew? She called it frequency hopping. With her collaborator, avant-garde composer George Antheil, she patented the technology in 1942. Patent number 2292-387. The U.S. Navy classified the patent and ignored it. Too complex, they said. Too impractical. Hedy Lamarr went back to making movies. Her invention gathered dust for 50 years. But ideas don't die. They wait. Jump forward to 1992. The Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation in Australia, CSIRO, had a team working on an impossible problem. Dr. John O'Sullivan was an electrical engineer who had spent years searching for exploding mini black holes using radio telescopes. He didn't find any black holes, but in the process, he became an expert in detecting faint radio signals through noise and interference. And that expertise turned out to be exactly what wireless networking needed. The problem was multipath interference. When you transmit a radio signal indoors, it doesn't travel in a straight line. It bounces off walls, floors, ceilings, furniture. Each reflected signal arrives at the receiver at a slightly different time. These reflected signals interfere with each other, scrambling the data beyond recognition. It's like trying to have a conversation in a room made of mirrors, where your voice bounces back from every direction at once. Previous attempts at wireless networking only worked in perfect line-of-sight conditions. The moment you added walls, furniture, or people, everything fell apart. O'Sullivan's team realized they needed to do something counterintuitive. Instead of trying to eliminate the reflections, they needed to embrace them, use them. The solution came from O'Sullivan's radio astronomy work, a mathematical technique called fast Fourier transform that could separate overlapping signals and reconstruct the original data. Combined with frequency hopping, the technique Hedy Lamarr had invented 50 years earlier, O'Sullivan's team created a system that could reliably transmit data through the chaos of indoor environments. In 1992, they filed patent applications for wireless networking technology that actually worked indoors, patent that would later be called the most valuable in Australian history. But technology alone doesn't create a revolution. For that, you need standards, cooperation, an entire industry moving together. The Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEE, assembled a working group with a deliberately forgettable name, 802.11. Their mission: create a universal standard for wireless local area networks, a standard that every manufacturer would adopt, ensuring all devices could communicate. These were competitors, companies that normally hoarded their innovations as trade secrets. But they recognized something crucial: wireless networking would only succeed if it was universal. In 1997, the IEE ratified the first 802.11 standard. It could transmit data at 2 megabits per second, roughly the speed of a slow dial-up modem. But it worked, reliably, indoors, without cables. There was just one problem: nobody knew what to call it. 802.11 was not a consumer-friendly name. The Wireless Ethernet Compatibility Alliance needed something catchier, something that rolled off the tongue, something that sounded like the future. They hired the brand consulting firm Interbrand, the same company that had named the Prozac antidepressant and the compact computer. The firm suggested Wi-Fi as a play on hi-fi, high-fidelity audio. It meant absolutely nothing. It wasn't an acronym. It didn't stand for wireless fidelity, despite what people claimed later. It was just pleasant to say. Wi-Fi. 2 syllables, easy to remember, impossible to forget. And just like that, 802.11b became Wi-Fi. Technology became brand. Engineering became magic. The adoption curve was breathtaking. In 2000, almost nobody had Wi-Fi. By 2005, it was everywhere. Coffee shops became offices. Airports became workspaces. Your couch became a desk. The physical geography of work, communication, and connection fundamentally transformed. The mobile computing revolution that Apple's iPhone would catalyze in 2007 was only possible because Wi-Fi had already created an invisible infrastructure, a wireless web spanning the entire developed world. By 2010, there were more Wi-Fi devices than people in most developed nations. By 2020, there were over 10 billion Wi-Fi-enabled devices globally. And yet, most people had no idea where it came from. No idea who invented it. No idea about the Hollywood actress, the Australian astronomer, or the consortium of competitors who agreed to cooperate. But corporations knew, and they wanted payment. In 2005, CSIRO, the Australian research organization whose engineers had solved the multipath interference problem, began suing companies for patent infringement. 14 major technology companies. Billions of dollars in licensing fees at stake. The legal battles stretched across 7 years and multiple continents. The companies argued that CSIRO's patents were too broad, that the innovations were obvious, that other inventors had contributed equally important breakthroughs. CSIRO argued that without their specific signal processing techniques, modern indoor wireless networking wouldn't exist. That every Wi-Fi device relied on the mathematical innovations O'Sullivan's team had created. In 2012, the last cases settled. CSIRO received over $500 million in licensing fees, the most lucrative patent litigation in Australian history. But more importantly, it established a precedent. The inventors of foundational wireless networking technology deserved recognition and compensation. So what did Wi-Fi actually change? Everything and nothing. It didn't change what we wanted to do. Humans have always wanted to communicate, to learn, to share, to connect. Wi-Fi just removed the friction. It dissolved the boundary between online and offline. Before Wi-Fi, you went online, a deliberate action requiring you to sit at a desk and plug in. After Wi-Fi, you were simply always connected. The average person in a developed nation now spends 7 hours per day connected to the internet. Most of that time is wireless. Most of it is taken completely for granted. When the COVID-19 pandemic emptied office buildings in 2020, civilization didn't collapse. Millions of people worked from home, learned from home, lived from home. This was only possible because of infrastructure that had been quietly building for 2 decades. Wi-Fi routers in every home, wireless access points in every neighborhood, an invisible network that suddenly became the backbone of human continuity. We had built a wireless world without quite realizing we were doing it. And when we needed it most, it was there. But wireless connection came with a price, one we're still calculating. Wi-Fi made it possible to be perpetually available, perpetually reachable, perpetually working, perpetually responding, perpetually consuming content. The boundary between work and home dissolved. The distinction between public and private space blurred. You were never truly off, never truly unreachable, never truly alone. Some call this freedom. The freedom to work from anywhere, to access information constantly, to maintain relationships across distance. Others call it a prison, a wireless leash that binds us more effectively than cables ever did. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in the middle. Wi-Fi is a tool, like fire, like electricity, like every transformative technology that came before. It can liberate or constrain us. The choice has always been ours. Wi-Fi continues to evolve. Every few years, a new standard emerges with greater speeds, longer range, better efficiency. Wi-Fi 7, ratified in 2024, can theoretically transmit data at over 40 gigabits per second. That's 20,000 times faster than the original 802.11 standard from 1997. But speed is just the beginning. The next frontier is ubiquity. Wi-Fi 6 and beyond are designed for dense environments where hundreds of devices compete for bandwidth. Because the future isn't just about connecting people, it's about connecting everything. Your refrigerator, your car, your clothing, your environment. Some researchers envision a world where traditional internet service providers become obsolete, where mesh networks of peer-to-peer connections create a truly decentralized web, resilient and democratic. Others warn of surveillance nightmares, of security vulnerabilities, of electromagnetic pollution we don't yet understand. But one thing is certain, we're not going back to cables. In technology museums around the world, you can see the artifacts. The first wireless routers, the patent documents, the laptops that made Wi-Fi standard. But you can't see Wi-Fi itself. You can't touch it. You can't hold it in your hand. It exists in the space between things, in the air you breathe, in the walls around you. An invisible ocean of electromagnetic waves carrying the conversations, creations, and connections of billions of people. Hedy Lamarr died in 2000, just as Wi-Fi was beginning its explosive growth. She never received royalties for frequency hopping, the technique that made it all possible. She died in relative obscurity, remembered more for her beauty than her brilliance. But in 2014, she was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Recognition, decades too late. John O'Sullivan and his CSIRO team received the European Inventor Award in 2012. The Australian Prime Minister called their work one of the most significant Australian innovations of the modern era. And there were thousands of others. Engineers whose names appear only in patent documents. Standards committee members who spent years negotiating technical specifications. Researchers who solved small problems that enabled the larger breakthrough. This is how revolutions actually happen. Not with lone geniuses having eureka moments, but with decades of accumulated knowledge, built on incremental discoveries, assembled by communities of people who believed that cutting the cable was worth the effort. Right now, as you watch this, electromagnetic waves are passing through your body. Millions of packets of data, each one a fragment of someone's conversation, someone's video, someone's search for information. You exist inside a data ocean, breathing information like air. And you feel nothing, notice nothing, because that's the true measure of transformative technology. It becomes invisible. From a Hollywood actress sketching radio circuits in 1942, to an Australian astronomer detecting signals from space, to a consortium of competitors who chose cooperation over competition, to the billions of people who now carry wireless devices in their pockets. Wi-Fi didn't just connect computers. It connected possibilities. It dissolved distance. It freed us from wires, only to bind us with invisible threads of electromagnetic radiation. Whether that's liberation or captivity is still an open question. Perhaps it's both. Perhaps it's neither. Perhaps it's simply the latest chapter in humanity's endless quest to reach across distance, to share what we know, to connect with each other, to speak across the void, without wires. If this story fascinated you, imagine what else you don't know about the objects you use every day. The remote control, the refrigerator, the zipper, the pencil. Every mundane thing has an extraordinary origin. This is what we do here at the Fascinating Origins of Things. We uncover the hidden histories behind everyday objects, the inventors you've never heard of, the accidents that changed everything, the decades of failure that preceded breakthrough. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Wi-Fi's origin, do 3 things. 1. Hit that like button. It tells YouTube that this kind of detailed, researched storytelling matters. 2. Subscribe to the Fascinating Origins of Things. We release new documentary-style explorations every week, each one revealing the hidden history behind objects you thought you knew. 3. Share this video with someone who loves technology, history, or just great storytelling. These stories deserve to be heard, and if there's an everyday object whose origin you've always wondered about, leave it in the comments. Your suggestion might become our next investigation. Because every object has a story. Every invention has an origin. And some of those origins are absolutely fascinating. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.